Hey, Derek, good to see you again.
It's great to see you.
Have you heard the news about Essence?
I have. First off, the only reason why I know it's called Essence is because I've made returns. And the first time I heard it, I was like, huh.
Sense?
Yeah, like I'm learning about fashion.
Was this a long time coming? It kind of, like most places, a lot
was
of
not just one reason, right? Like Essence claimed it was just about the Trump tariffs. I mean, they didn't claim it just about the Trump tariffs, but they said the Trump tariffs.
The nail in the coffin.
They cited it as the reason. And I definitely think the Trump tariffs contributed. Business of Fashion did a long post on the reasons contributing to it. Had to do with like shifting customer base. They didn't have enough personal stylists to capture, there are certain kind of clientele.
Essence has personal stylists?
They had personal stylists where essentially, there is a certain kind of there are people like us who will take forever, buy one thing, return it. Like I'm just being honest. I'm a hassle. You're not going to make a lot of money off people like me, but you will make a lot of money off of the high value clients.
Oh yeah.
And that client does not want to spend all this time figuring out stuff.
They'd rather pay you to help them with it.
They need someone to just figure it out, and they have more money than time.
Yeah.
And so there was this article on Business of Fashion of what led up to this, and one of the things they did not capture that kind of base. They didn't have the personal stylist to do that, and there's all sorts of reasons. But certainly the fact that a large percentage of their business is U.S. customers,
yeah.
And when Trump announced his first round of tariffs early in 2025, I posted something on Twitter because it's been chaotic through this whole thing, right? Like it's always been chaotic.
There's tariffs. There's no tariffs.
It's just crazy.
We worked it out. Oh, no, there's tariffs. Now it's 20%. Now it's 80%.
Right. So when the first round of tariffs went up, it was originally directed at Canada. And I said, this is going to really hurt companies like Essence because so many of their customers are based in the US. And almost immediately, someone at Essence emailed me and said, I just want to clarify with you, it is not a tariff on Canadian businesses. It's stuff that's made in Canada or made in China. And most of our stuff comes from Europe. And so our customers will not actually be affected.
Yay.
So I was like, and they said, could you please correct it? And I actually meant to, and it just slipped my mind. And then a week or two went by and the Essence person emailed me again and said, just following up on this, I just want your, followers to know that like they can still shop with us.
And you're like, yeah, but don't think it's just going to be limited.
Well, I reposted and I said, I did get a message from Essence. Most of their stock is made in Italy and France and, all these other countries that are not currently affected by the tariff.
Currently.
Then, of course, a couple of weeks later, Trump announces tariffs, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just been a crazy cycle. And so apparently like Essence will tell you the tariff that you should expect to pay when your packages come across the border. And they're selling expensive things. So a 20% tariff is a big deal.
Yeah.
Right? So according to them and according to the Business of Fashion article, it has impacted business. And then they filed for bankruptcy protection. In the last couple of weeks, I've contacted Salvaro tailors to ask about this. And I'm still trying to work out the story.
You and I have talked to tailors that we see from the UK, from Italy, and they still don't know what they're going to do.
There's a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of confusion on how to deal with this. But in any case, it has impacted overseas businesses. At the very least, it has caused confusion. I know a few US businesses, because they're also impacted when they bring stuff into the country, that have canceled orders because they're unsure of the tariff situation.
I think what a lot of people did not expect is that a lot of American companies will use goods from countries that have tariffs imposed on them. And they think, well, my garment is made in the United States or my knife is made in the United States, so tariffs won't affect them. But in fact, because of the fact that they are importing goods, raw goods from overseas,
inputs,
those are things that are tariffed and that will increase the cost of what they make, even though it is here in the United States. And then now all of a sudden, people are like, oh, well, it does actually affect me.
Right. There was this Montana knife maker, literally called the Montana Knife Company. I think his name is Josh Smith, who runs it. And he's been very pro-tariff. And he's been using a type of steel, a powdered steel called MagnaCut. MagnaCut is a really interesting steel because most of the time when you're buying knife steels, you are excelling in some areas, but not great in other areas. So, for example, if you want really high edge retention, sometimes the
Carbon.
sometimes the blade can be a little chippy.
Right.
Right. If you want a very strong blade, sometimes it doesn't hold an edge very well, and you might have to, sharpen it a little bit more.
Yeah.
MagnaCut is unique in that it's not the best at edge retention or corrosion or strength, but it's pretty good at all of these things.
Good compromise between everything.
Yeah, like it is just a really good all-around steel. And it was made by this steel mill called Crucible in New York. Crucible went out of business in late 2024.
No, really?
And it got sold right when Trump was inaugurated. And Montana Knife Company, Josh, realized that once Crucible got bought, it was bought by, I believe, a Swedish company. And now the Swedish company is making it in Sweden. It's an American invention. The powdered steel, which is called a CPM, is a super steel made by Crucible.
But it's no longer made in the States.
It's no longer made in the States. So now he has to make the decision. Do I use a lower quality steel or do I import a Swedish steel, which I'm now paying a lot more for? He also realized in the middle of this that he was trying to build a knife factory because throughout this whole process, he's been...
You mean making it himself?
Bringing it all in-house. Because, knife manufacturing is similar to clothing manufacturing. Most designers aren't making their own clothes, right? They come up with a design. Right. They find someone to spin the yarn.
They outsource the production.
Weave the fabric, someone to cut and sew. I mean, it's a supply chain. The knife manufacturing industry is the same way. Everyone benefits from what the process that Adam Smith wrote hundreds of years ago, specialization in labor. So there are complex supply chains for everything. He was doing that for a while and then wanted to bring it all under one roof and then realized, all of the companies that make American machinery to make knives also import little components.
Yeah.
And he found out that all of a sudden, from last year to now, he will be paying an extra $100,000 because those American-made machines are now increasing costs because they have different inputs. So
they're using components from overseas.
Yeah, we have inputs all over the place, right?
Wow.
And that's the same with when Trump put the tariffs on Japan. As of this podcast, who knows in the future? But as of right now, I believe the Japanese tariff is 20%. And guess what? If you wanted to build a clothing factory, you are importing Juki sewing machines because those are the best sewing machines.
That's
and where are those made? In Japan, right? So you're either using a crappy sewing machine or you are importing the best and now paying more. And so, it's not just about sense. It's also essence. It's not just about essence, but also about the tailors and then also the cost of making a factory in America or making clothes in America. I mean, this is something that Andrew Chen of 316 has been talking about forever.
Yeah, he's been really transparent about all of that.
If you want to make the best jeans, you're importing Japanese denim. That's just the reality. Like,
that's the only thing that exists. Yeah.
I spoke to Kia about it. Listen, maybe at some point, far in the future, we can have some beautiful denim revival in America. Maybe. I mean, who knows, right? Like,
sure, yeah, pigs can fly.
All sorts of things can happen. But at the moment, if you want the best denim fabric, it's made in Japan. That's just the reality. And if you want lower quality denim, certainly you can go to other places. But Andrew is trying to make a premium, top of the line product, right? He's trying to make the best jeans possible in the US, and that means Japanese denim. And he's now paying more for that fabric.
Well, I guess we're just going to have to see how it turns out.
Yeah.
Now, you wrote an article about, of all things, shoe shiners, which is, in the world of menswear, is, on the one hand, a very visible part of it because shoe shiners are usually out in the open, right? They're on streets. They're in hotels. They're in airports. They're in train stations. They used to be seen everywhere. They used to be a part of society. Now you hardly see them at all.
Yeah.
Why is that?
So Bloomberg reached out to me and asked if I was interested in doing a monthly column. And they said, obviously, you write about clothes. This has to be related to business in some way. So I pitched all sorts of ideas, and I included a wild idea that I've been wanting to write about for a long time. And I was like, it's sort of business.
And they bit.
I submitted the article literally yesterday. But what I'm hoping to do with the story is to talk about the rise and fall of shoe shiners. Because you're right, it used to be the first photograph ever taken was a French scientist who figured out a way to imprint an image onto a silver-coated copper plate using light exposure. And it was basically early camera technology. I think it was like in 1938.
Now you're talking my language.
Yeah, this is 1938. And, he announced it in 1939, I think. And he experimented with his technology in 1938. He set up a camera facing out of his Parisian window, out of his studio. And he took a photo of the Paris landscape. Early camera technology was so rudimentary that the camera exposure time, the lens exposure time, was like 5 to 30 minutes, depending on depending on the amount of light. So what ended up happening is that he did take the photo of the Paris cityscape, but when you actually look at the photo, it looks like Paris is deserted. In reality,
everyone's moving too fast.
I mean, they're just walking, right? But if you're having that camera exposure for like 30 minutes, then you don't capture anything.
Everyone's going to be a blur.
You're just seeing buildings.
Yeah.
The only two people that are visible in that first photograph of Paris is a shoe shiner and his client. And it basically shows that shoe shiners were once so common that you couldn't avoid them.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Every street corner.
And what was interesting is that when I started writing this article, I started to realize that, one, people have been smearing protective coatings onto their shoes for centuries. And this was to keep the leather supple, to keep it soft, to keep it weatherproof. It was just a practical application.
Yeah.
The change, I think, happened with the start of the Industrial Revolution. And to get a sense of the early days of Industrial Revolution, it really helps to read Karl Marx, who certainly not looking at it very favorably, but he wrote it with like unique candor. And he described London streets as dirty, unpaved. He described the streets as having vegetable and animal refuse, horse
Sounds like
manure.
he was jealous of the Industrial Revolution. There's nothing but farms in Russia.
Interesting thing is, I mean, he wrote that. I think the essay was called The Great Cities or The Great Towns. He described London streets in, I want to say, the 1830s, 1840s, somewhere around there. I think his description is accurate, given that by the mid 1800s, the river going through London was overflowing with so much like sewage and literal crap, like people just poop and like garbage and all of that, that it caused this great stink. And it required all of these workers to update the sewage system in London so that people wouldn't get sick. It was just so bad smelling, right? I think when you understand that early industrial cities like London and New York were just really dirty with like factory soot and all of that.
Yeah, they had no idea what was all of the pollution that was happening.
Then I think you understand how a very polished shoe became a sign of essentially status disguised as respectability and dignity. I mean, it's the same as tailoring.
Wait, so are you proposing that the fact that people had shined shoes as opposed to soot-laden shoes was a sign of status and class at that time?
In the same way that a really good tailored suit or a white collared shirt versus a blue collared shirt, all of these things end up being signifiers of both your station in society, but then also put forward as a sign of dignity. And this is a very, it's a delicate thing, right? It's a delicate thing because you're also saying that, like, obviously, if you're able to take care of your shoes, hire someone to take care of your shoes, that requires a certain amount of wealth. So essentially, a polished shoe in this period becomes not putting something on someone's shoe is not just about keeping the leather supple and soft or waterproof. It's also about a sign of dignity and respectability and station in the world.
Right.
And because of that, many of the early shoe shiners, there was just an army of shoe shiners ready to polish people's shoes, right? To wipe the soot, to wipe the sewage away from their shoes, polish them. And many of the early shoe shiners were basically poor orphan children, boys, almost always, who are called street Arabs in Victorian society.
Street urchins.
Street urchins.
Very Dickensian.
Yeah, Charles Dickens, one of his early jobs was literally putting the labels on like early forms of shoe polish.
Was
jars.
it really?
Yeah. That's how common this was. I found this, I think it was like in the 1830s or 1840s, there was an issue of Punch. Punch was a satirical publication co-founded by Henry Mayhew, who wrote one of the great labor histories of the 19th century. In this 1830s, 1840s issue of Punch, it described these street children in these really funny terms. It basically said that these children often badgered wealthy pedestrians about their attire and then would march after them, imitating their gait. And they would say things like, "Oh, what a limmy top," or something like that, which was basically like, what a fancy hat. Or they would say, "I wish I had a pair of ducks," which was like, "I wish I had those trousers." And there was all of this really charming Victorian slang that I can't replicate at the moment. But it's basically saying these like street children would badger wealthy people. That is true. The children also, Punch is a satirical publication, so they obviously were playing this up for laughs. But in terms of historical accounts that were not satirical, it is true that many of these children swarmed pedestrians and carriages. They would hang out in these busy thoroughfares.
As they do today. Yeah.
As they do today. And they would either beg for money or they would ask for money in exchange for small services. One of which include shoe shines.
Shining shoes.
And they had learned their trade at the nearby garrisons where they polished military boots.
Oh, interesting.
And the very early form of shoe polish was soot suspended in oils and vinegar.
Wow.
And it was a way to condition the shoes and also basically cover any kind of scuffs using the soot.
Interesting.
That was called blackening. And that's why early shoe shiners were called boot blacks.
Oh,
shoe blacks.
Is that how?
Yeah, because they were polishing military boots using blacking, and they were called boot blacks. And these were young children. The very early Victorian system, and also happened in Paris, is that they tried to, many people in high society basically looked at these kids as a nuisance. They didn't necessarily like them because, these kids would be making fun of the way they dress and like they're begging for change.
Right.
Like gutter punks today.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Gutter punks.
So these, some
Very
of them,
telegraph kids.
some of these like well-meaning reformers, they had two minds. One is that they didn't really like the kind of rough nature of these street kids. The other is that there was this Victorian idea, which I think still holds today, is that they believed that honest labor could turn unruly kids into upright citizens, which is still a kind of disciplinary view today. Like, if your kid's not doing well, you send them off to boot camp kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so there were some well-meaning reformers who organized boot black brigades where they put the kids in red and blue uniforms, issued them licenses, and assigned them fixed beats.
So we're talking about summer camp for shoe shiners.
Yeah, basically, right? Like it was like, this was like now like an official system. But what it ended up doing was provoking this feud within the shoe blacking fraternity.
Oh.
Where some people felt that shoe shining should only be done by poor orphan boys. They should have a monopoly on it. Other people felt that able-bodied men who could not find better employment elsewhere should be able to do this work. There was a huge debate between these two groups. And if you were an able-bodied man doing this work, some people felt that you were muscling in on a kid's job, taking money away from them. And two, some people felt that it was below your dignity to shine shoes. This should be reserved for poor orphans.
Okay.
The other thing is that it caused a rift between the kids who were able to afford licenses, which caused...
Want to hear the rest? Listen to the full episode and many more other exclusive episodes over on our Patreon. Visit patreon.com/Blamo to sign up and join the Blam fam. You also get access to our exclusive members-only Slack group where we chat about this and a ton of other things. So head over to patreon.com/Blamo and we'll see you there.